Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film Sitting Pretty, which is an American film produced in 1948. A lawyer and his wife, they both had 3 sons and a dog. And the 3 sons were really mischievous, really energetic, and they couldn't retain any nanny at home at all. So they have lost many nannies after a short time, and then they had to call someone else to stay with the kids. They tried a 16-year teenager, but she was very irresponsible. She threw parties in the house, so it didn't work out. So they decided to advertise and look for another nanny. And then they hired a new nanny who seemed to be very good. However, the family didn't know it was actually a man and that he was extremely skilled in many different professions. The lawyer and his wife, they lived in a very small community, and everyone knew each other, everyone gossiped about each other. But the couple reluctantly agreed that the new nanny would have a trial period with the boys and see how it would work out. And then surprisingly, the guy, he got along with the boys very well. The boys loved him and they got to improve their behavior dramatically. And because of that, they decided to keep this guy as the nanny in the house. Someday, the lawyer, he had to travel to another state because of his work. And then the wife, to avoid any possibility of scandal and gossip, she agreed with her husband that she would sleep in the house of a neighbor, so to avoid anybody talking too much. However, someday one of the boys, he had a stomachache in the middle of the night, and then the man nanny, he had to call the mother and ask her to come home to take care of her son. And then the neighbor saw that she was alone in the middle of the night with another man while her husband was traveling. And of course, there was lots of gossip in the city because of that. Then after a while, when the husband returned from his work trip, his boss told him that there was lots of gossip and that his employees, they are supposed to have a good reputation, and he was scolded. The husband didn't, of course, believe in this gossip, but he talked to his wife and told her that it would be better if they dismissed this other man as the nanny. However, when the children overheard this conversation, they begged their parents so that the guy could remain because they liked him very much. And okay, the father had to give in because after all, the harmony and the behavior of the kids were undeniably much better at home. However, this guy who was working as a nanny, he was a bit too mysterious and he was always locked inside his bedroom. He seemed to be too skilled. He said all the time that he didn't like children, but he was good to discipline them. And they tried to know who this guy really was, but the couple didn't find anything. And then, after a while, the wife went to one of her female friends to a lecture, and they met there this guy who was working as a nanny in his night off. And then the wife accepted the invitation of this guy to dance. And then some neighbors spotted the wife dancing cheek to cheek with this other man. And then there was more gossip in the city, and this time the husband was very angry with everything that was going on. He decided that it was high time to dismiss this nanny. And then the woman, the wife, felt outraged because her husband was showing doubts about her honesty, her reputation. Then she took her youngest son and left to the house of her parents in Texas. And then, of course, that the husband, he quarreled with the guy nanny, and it was all this trouble. After a while, it was found out that this nanny, he was actually a writer, and he was living in this small community to write a book about everything that was going on in the city. And even more, the guy who was spreading, the neighbor who was spreading all the gossip, he was actually an informant, a collaborator of this writer. And then, of course, because of all this gossip, the lawyer, he was dismissed from his work because he was endangering the reputation of the company. Then the inhabitants of the city decided to sue the writer because they felt offended with the description of them in the book. Then the writer decided to hire the husband as his lawyer, and then there was a big commotion in the city, but his book proved to be a hit. And then when the wife overheard that, when she saw that in the newspaper that her male nanny was actually a writer, she decided to return to her home with her youngest son. She was missing her husband very much. Then they reconciled, and then the couple asked the man if he would still work as a nanny in their house, because after all, he was a popular writer, and it would make no sense for him to still work there. And then he said that he took very seriously the commitment he undertook with the family, and that he intended to remain working there because actually he wanted to work a trilogy. So it was only the first book. He still needed to write 2 other books, and for this reason he would remain working in the house as the nanny of the boys for 2 more years. And this is how the film ended. It's a very naive comedy. Oh, sorry. It's a very naive comedy. It's a very interesting comedy. It gives precious insight about how a middle-class American family lived in the 1940s. We can see the neighborhood. We can catch a glimpse of the routines of families back then. It's very nice. We can also see that it's a film that it's not too pretentious, but it's funny in its own way. It has the old formula of comedies. First something happens, then there's a misunderstanding, and then in the end the misunderstanding is solved and everyone gets happy again. And along the way there's lots of laughs. And we can see this in this film. And it's a really sweet film, family friendly. And I know you're going to like that very much. It's not a very known film, but you can find it. You can have access to that. And that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you!